Screensavernya iya dong anjing, screensavernya masih aktif.
I got guns in my head and they won't go. Spirits in my head and they won't go. I got guns in my head and they won't go. Spirits in my head and they won't go. I got guns in my head and they won't go. Spirits in my head and they won't go. I got guns in my head and they won't go. Spirits in my head and they won't go. I got guns in my head and they won't go. Spirits in my head and they won't.
As you can see here, you have a ladder that goes downstairs. If you go here, what happens? You arrive in a totally different map. We are in the blue area now. As you can see, we have
You guys know if it is possible to make view models completely made and animated in 2D? Sketches for reference. I don't think it is, right? Let's see the comments. Okay, so the workaround is to just make view models non-existent and make this part of the HUD, which would work, I suppose. You guys know if it is possible to make view models completely made. Okay, I am so confused. Look at this post. Updated the thumbnail so the state of the game matched with the timeline. Yeah, Team Fortress 2, 2008, just vanilla TF2, then 2012, I guess we got this update with like the festive weapons. 2017, was that when MVM came out? I guess so. 2024, for some reason, vanilla TF2 again, and then now this medic with some cosmetics. And in my confusion, I go to the comments, right? I'm probably dumb for not getting this, but I don't. And here's what the top comment says. It says, it's a sad that Medic and Demo's left leg and arm are the only characters you can play now. This did not help at all. Okay, I am so confused. Look at this post. Updated the thumbnail so the state of the game.
Look what I made. With 3 bars of soap and a shoelace.
Cracker, please.
Come on, race trader. He's all yours.
This gonna be fun.
Hey, Stan, what do you do to Patterson?
I just roughed him up a little bit. Why?
Somebody took a shiv to his ass. They say he'll be shitting sideways for a month.
Now I know what Schadenfreude feels like. Look what I made. With 3 bars of soap and a shoelace.
Cracker.
Oh my God, what happened?
I went to stop this bank robbery and I got hit.
Did they use kryptonite?
No, regular bullets.
Gracias.
This isn't normal. Superman doesn't bruise, especially not from bullets.
You think it has something to do with that gas Rosetta used?
I don't know.
This wasn't supposed to happen.
Really? Because it sure seems like a weapon designed to hurt Superman would hurt Superman.
It was only meant as a last resort.
Sam, how do we fix this?
My guys are working on it.
Oh my God, what happened?
These are 10.
Oh my God, what happened?
I went to stop this bank robbery and
These are 10 weird things you didn't know about Elon Musk. First, Elon works extremely long hours, sometimes up to 100 hours a week. He even slept on the factory floor many times. Next, he has 11 children and even named one of them XAAZ, just because he thought it sounded cool. He is also a crazy coffee addict, drinking roughly 10 cups a day just to stay energized while working. And despite being the richest man on Earth, he doesn't have a house and prefers sleeping in a tiny container in the Tesla factory. He is also known for sending weird emails late at night and expecting his employees to respond quickly or they get fired. Along with that, he once sent a Tesla car into space just because he could do it. He also once suggested nuking Mars as a way to make it livable in the future. He posts random weird memes online just to create controversy. And one time, he encouraged his own son to punch him in the face just because he thought it was funny. These are
Bob eats deer meat.
What happens when you beat Mortal Kombat with the worst character, Meat? Meat was originally a secret character in MK4, but more like a secret skin you could use for any character in the game. Meat becomes fully playable as his own character in Armageddon, where he is one of the more bizarre characters in the series. When you beat MK Armageddon, you will get an ending, explaining how your chosen character used the powers they earned by defeating the boss of the game, Blaze. After beating the game with Meat, this is how his story ends.
Meat was an experiment who escaped Shang Tsung's flesh pits before.
Ranking the TF2 mercenaries by how good they smell.
I have something radiating off of me.
Hey, those are stink lines. That's why the car hit him, because he smells.
Yes, I see.
In the smells good tier, we have Spy. You know, he takes care of himself. He has an expensive suit and probably also a good perfume. Then in the smells normal tier, we have Scout. You know, he's trying. Heavy, I'm pretty sure he takes care too. Engineer, I was tempted to put him lower, but I don't think there'd be anything too bad other than like the smell of machinery and oil maybe sometimes. Sniper, now I know he pisses in jars, okay, but he doesn't move a lot for the job, so he's not gonna be sweaty. Like, I think he just smell pretty normal. And
what happened?
Ranking the TF2 mercenaries by how good they smell.
I have something radiating off of me.
Hey, those are stink lines. That's why the car hit him, because he smells.
Yes, I see.
In the smells good tier, we have
how the same video would look on different social medias. Facebook. This is how I feel on Mondays. This is on Mondays. This is relatable. Google, how do I turn on my phone?
Dad, you're on your phone right now.
Facebook. TikTok. How MFs who act tough be moving the moment they see a spider.
I kid you not, this was literally my friend. Also, here's a mugshot of him.
Boy, did you just post your friend on the internet without their permission?
Sip it, bro, you unconchopped.
Huh? Instagram. Man crashes into wall really bad. Also car crash. You go by the car crash? Look at my profile, you'll see a real car crash.
But why is he stuck in the wall like that?
YouTube.
This man is going to jam himself into this wall, but not for the reason you would think. You see, this man is from England, the place where many men are bold and built like tanks, making him perfect for smashing their cranium right into solid brick. And that is...
how the same video...
Why are you screaming like a goddamn little girl?
Sarge, look. Sweet Jesus. It's like an alien staring into my soul.
Hello there, young fella. Oh, I guess we're cellmates. My name's Larry, but you can call me Shorts.
Shorts, you're my bunk.
What?
That's my bunk. Get out.
This is my bunk. What gives you the right to do... Ow! I'm kind of a compulsive masturbator.
Shorts, that's your bunk.
Really?
Absolutely.
Daddy, how did they get the cork in the bottle?
Well, Abigail.
The break room started smelling so bad, the boss thought someone had died. The boss told the janitor, "The break room smells horrific! Do your job for once and find the source." The janitor discovered one of the tiles was loose and found rotting, half-eaten food on the ceiling. The boss checked the security cameras and caught one employee climbing up a ladder after work and hiding something above the ceiling tiles. When the boss ambushed the employee, he asked why he was doing it. He admitted coworkers kept stealing his food from the break room. So he started hiding food above the ceiling where nobody could find it. He'd sneak up there to snack on it and never bothered to clean up the leftovers. The boss said, "I don't care, stop hiding food in the ceiling. Clean it up now." But when the employee climbed back up into the ceiling, all the leftover food was suddenly gone. The next day while eating lunch, the boss kept hearing heavy noises moving above the break room. He got furious thinking the employee was hiding food up there again. So the boss grabbed a broom, shoved open the ceiling tile, and yelled, "I know that's you! I knew you'd do this again!" But then two glowing eyes suddenly appeared in the darkness above him. Then a giant raccoon suddenly jumped onto the boss's face and stole his food. Turns out a family of raccoons had moved into the ceiling after the employee kept hiding food up there.
Oh no! Ella! Turn the water off! Turn the water off! Turn the
What? How? You need more for sure. For sure you need more. Don't do this at home.
What am I supposed to do?
Ranking the TF2 mercenaries by how strong they are. Somewhat weak. Spy. Spy is a very deadly and agile assassin for sure, but he doesn't really have... A woman used...
What?
Oh.
Scout, it's Pauling. Tell me you got the briefcase.
Yeah, sure.
And nobody saw you.
Basically nobody.
Scout, I'm here right now.
Oh, well, that's a funny...
Hello, Miss Pauling. We killed everybody and took a briefcase.
Not everybody, soldier. You left 7 witnesses, guys. 6. Look, just keep the briefcase safe, okay? Have a good weekend, guys.
Goodbye, Miss Pauling. I'm leaving the van now.
Bye-bye. Okay, then. Hey, Miss Pauling, before you go,
Scout, let's say something.
You're probably real busy this weekend, right?
Funny you should mention that. Looks like I will be burying bodies all weekend. So that you don't go to jail.
Oh, good. So, we're both busy.
Oh, gotta go.
A lot of people busy with busyness.
Asking out that dial tone again, I see.
Go to hell, spy. Hey, look at all this. What are you two eggheads been working on? Nice catch.
Yeah, listen, we've been running some experiments on the teleporter. Well, y'all ought to take a look at this.
Wow, you can teleport bread. That is big news. The demo back with the beer yet? Oh! What the hell is that? Chumas!
Y'all know what this means, right?
We cannot teleport bread anymore.
Whoa, not exactly, soldier. You teleport as much bread as you like. That goes for all of you. If there's something any of y'all wanted to do before you, well, died, now would be a good time.
How long before these tumors kill us?
Well, let's see. We all use the teleporter, let's say, 6 times a day. Times 4 years, minus we're not bread. 3 days. Yes, we all have 3 days to live.
Let's go!
虎穴にいらずんば故事を得ず。
Gabby J! Bear Hugger! Adios!
Aha!
What? No!
Be first, Matt.
I'm finally a fully rounded fighter, Mac. Keep it clean. Stand still, man.
Anda dapat ini kecil kok anjing. Lo. Pepe lo. Pepe. UKT.
Nomor 10 U. Pertama lihat ini huruf emang kelihatan cocok buat menjarain orang. Tapi nanti kelemahan fatalnya bakal terungkap nih. Ini huruf temboknya tinggi, jadi manjat di huruf ini ya susah banget. Walaupun kalau skill manjat kalian kayak monyet, pas udah sampai di atas pasti bingung tuh cara turunnya gimana. Lebih parahnya lagi, ini huruf nggak ada atapnya. Jadi udah pasti kalau panas kalian bakal gosong, dan kalau hujan bakal menggigil kedinginan. Bisa-bisa skenario terburuknya kalian bisa kebanjiran tuh di dalam. Jadi dijamin orang yang masuk huruf ini itu bakalan kapok tuh bikin onar. Tapi ada satu kelemahan fatal di huruf U ini, tuh ubin di bawah ngelengkung. Jadi kalau kalian mau coba kabur, kalian bisa coba buat beratin huruf ini di satu sisi. Jadi si huruf U ini bakal miring nantinya. Terus langsung deh kalian bisa lolos dari ini penjara. Orang pertama yang beruntung itu namanya Ubay. Next nomor 9 T. Nah huruf kali ini agak lain. Beda dari konsep penjara biasanya yang ngurung orang, ini huruf malah ngasih kebebasan. Tapi ada tapinya. Kalau kalian ditaruh di sini ya udah pasti ditaruh di atas. Nah awalnya pasti kelihatan enak tuh karena nggak ada penghalang. Padahal walaupun nggak ada tembok, kita tetap aja nggak bakal bisa kemana-mana karena ini huruf tinggi bener. Jadi kalau kalian mau lompat sekalipun ya sama aja kayak milih meninggoy. Udah gitu di atas pasti kalian kesiksa banget tuh. Udah kepanasan, kehujanan, ditonton lagi sama orang-orang. Bukan cuman kalian yang kesusahan, si perpenjara juga ikutan susah. Karena kalau mau ngasih kalian makanan ya bakal keribetan tuh cara nganterinnya. Paling satu-satunya cara buat kabur dari ini huruf itu kalian bisa bikin tali tuh dari kain yang ada di sel ini. Tapi itu juga kalau kainnya cukup, sama kalau kalian hoki tuh nggak ketahuan sama sipir. Nama yang wakil huruf ini jatuh kepada Tony. Next nomor 8 kita ada O. Nah di huruf O ini sekilas kelihatan sempurna. Dia ada tembok sama atap, jadi aman dari hujan. Kalau kalian mau coba gali terowongan kabur pun ada ubin di bawahnya. Ngantar makanan juga sipir nggak bakal kesusahan. Tapi bisa dibilang huruf ini tuh ironis. Karena kalau kalian emang mau pergi dari ini huruf, ya kalian gak usah ribet-ribet tuh coba keluar. Kalian tinggal cosplay aja jadi hamster. Pasti selama kalian hidup, kalian pernah tuh lihat hamster lari di dalam bola. Nah di sini juga sama. Kalian tinggal ambil ancang-ancang lari, terus muter datu huruf. Jadi kalian bisa bawa ini penjara balik ke rumah masing-masing. Walaupun pastinya nanti bakal ada scene kejar-kejaran tuh antara kalian sama mobil polisi kayak di film-film. Kali ini nama yang beruntung adalah Oki. Nomor 7 H. Nah di huruf kali
Boxing at its core is a sport of elegance, strategy, and physical prowess. For centuries, it has captivated audiences with its blend of athleticism and artistry. In the ring, two fighters dance a delicate ballet, where every jab, hook, and uppercut is a testament to their skill and discipline. The rules of boxing, which have been meticulously crafted over time, ensure fairness and safety, preserving the integrity of the sport. Fighters are celebrated not just for their strength, but for their technique, sportsmanship, and respect for their opponents. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. In fact, let's dial things back to the humble beginnings of a young, 23-year-old aspiring boxer known as Aaron Ryan. Aaron Ryan made his WVBA debut in Super Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo in 1994. There, we see him as the first opponent in the world circuit, and when you first take him on here, things are relatively normal actually. For the most part, the Aaron Ryan we see here has a relatively orthodox fighting style. He's pretty resistant to your normal punches, which is his main shtick, but your KO punches will leave him seeing stars. Aside from that, the only real gimmick we see here is when his coach tells him to grab you. Compared to some of the other questionable techniques we see from the rest of the Super Punch-Out cast, such as Hoi Kualo bringing a wooden staff into the fight and beating you over the head with it, or Dragon Chan straight up attempting to use kung fu kicks on you, Aaron Ryan looks fairly tame. He does seem to be pretty easily angered, with him always having an aggressive expression painted on his face in the ring, but there are far worse offenders in this game if anger is the crime. So that begs the question, what gives? Among Punch-Out fans, Aaron Ryan has something of a reputation, and this man right here, this kinda normal boxer, does not quite live up to said reputation. So what exactly is the deal here? What did this guy do to garner such infamy within the community? Well, between Super Punch-Out and Punch-Out Wii, something happened to Aaron Ryan. Something snapped. Aaron Ryan became, well,
Let's go! Let's go!
just a little bit insane. Much like in his prior appearance, Aaron Ryan is the first opponent that you face in the world circuit, but that's about where the similarities end. If you're all familiar with Punch-Out Wii, you'll know that this Aaron Ryan is most known for his filthy cheating ways, and that's something that's immediately apparent right from his very introduction. After showing off his mischievous nature by vandalizing a poster of Little Mac and tickling this poor man trying to do a bench press in peace, we can notice something slightly amiss. Do you see that? No, your eyes do not deceive you. This guy has horseshoes in his gloves. I'm pretty sure that those could kill someone. I would not want to get anywhere near this man, but when you inevitably begin your fight, you'll see that Aaron Ryan's fighting style is just about as wild as his personality. He is all over the place, and I mean that both literally and figuratively. Look at how much this guy moves around the ring. With how slippery he is, it really makes you wonder, how on earth do you actually hit him? I mean, sure you are able to dodge the attacks he throws your way and counter-attack, but that'll only earn you a single hit in most cases. The game is very stingy here. The solution is, and I hate to say it, but you actually have to take Doc Lewis's advice.
There are many ways to eat a chocolate, but there's only one way to eat a chocolate bar.
No, not that advice.
Join the Nintendo fun. I mean Club Nintendo today, Mac.
Or that advice.
Be first, Mac. I need you to be first. Beat Aaron Ryan to the punch.
That's right. You have to quite literally beat Aaron Ryan to the punch. Right before he comes into attack, you need to throw out your own jab, and by doing so, you interrupt him and stop him from getting to you. This leaves him stunned, allowing you to finally get some decent damage in. Now, that's cool and all, but as the fight goes on, Aaron Ryan only continues to grow more and more unhinged. Not only does he constantly move around the ring, not only does he have horseshoes in his gloves, that is only scratching the surface. You see, to put it nicely, Aaron Ryan likes to get creative with his attacks. More bluntly speaking, the guy straight up headbutts you. Even when you eventually do manage to knock him down, he'll attempt to get one last hit on you as a last-ditch effort, albeit unsuccessfully. The best part about all of this is that the ref does not care one bit. This is just a normal Wednesday afternoon for him. Aaron Ryan's cheating ways have made him an infamous boxer not only in the Punch-Out fanbase, but in the WVBA in-universe as well. As it turns out, the crowd hates this guy and will boo him constantly, even going so far as to throw food at him in between rounds. There are very few instances where the audience genuinely despises a character like this. I mean, they do love to hate Super Macho Man, but he sorta leans into the heel role.
Why don't you love me?
With Aaron Ryan, they don't like the guy purely because of the way he is. Like, this dude is just a terrible human being. Alongside his rule-breaking antics, a big part of Aaron Ryan's personality is his Irish heritage, and this is played up a lot during his fights. The look of the Irish is one of the biggest stereotypes portrayed in his character. Along with his horseshoes, which are a symbol of luck in Irish culture, without fail, if Aaron Ryan gets back up from being knocked down, he'll always do it on the lucky number 7. And if you take a look at your stamina counter, how many hearts do you have? 7. His shorts even have a 4-leaf clover on them. I mean, if that's not commitment to the bit, I don't know what is. And the very first time you see the man open his mouth, do you know what sentence he utters?
You don't look Irish!
Man, this guy is full of absolutely iconic lines. He drops so many bangers in this game, such as...
Keep hitting me. I love it.
Or...
Me sister hits harder than you, boy!
There's also...
6, 7, rise up with flame!
And my personal favourite is that after knocking you down, he taunts you and references the fact that he has horseshoes in his gloves by saying... 1, 2...
You poached your cheeseburgers in those gloves, have you, Mac?
Such a wise, respectable gentleman. Eventually though, you'll figure out all of Aaron Ryan's tricks and see that, behind all the smoke and mirrors, he's actually a relatively simple opponent to defeat. But the reality is, that first fight was only the beginning. As with the rest of the characters in this game, Aaron Ryan comes back with a vengeance in title defense. But has he realized the error in his ways and used his loss as a newfound source of motivation to become a fair, honorable, rule-abiding boxer? Well, of course not. This is Aaron Ryan we're talking about. If anything, we see that he's gotten even more insane since the last time. However, what's odd is that the fight doesn't start off too dissimilarly from the last one. As a matter of fact, things seem pretty ordinary, at least by Aaron Ryan's standards anyway. He's still very slippery, constantly moves around the ring, elbows and headbutts you, but for Aaron Ryan, that's normal, right? But partway through the fight, everything changes. You see, in his intro package, we see Aaron Ryan throwing away his old gloves after they ripped from having horseshoes inside of them. But then, it looks like he has some kind of idea after he notices that, next to his gloves, there's a piece of rope. So, what exactly is he planning to do, you might ask?
Here's one of my favorites, Mac.
Did he just... So, let me get this straight. Not only does Aaron Ryan elbow you, not only does he headbutt you, Not only does he have horseshoes in his gloves, but now he also brings a weapon into the fight? Excuse me? How did the WVBA allow this man to get away with this? Wait, never mind, this is the same WVBA that allowed Little Mac to fight a literal monkey. I should not be surprised by this. The worst part is that he continues to do this throughout the fight, and it only gets worse as you get further in. But you know what? I feel like this is a good point to sit back and consider everything we have here and see exactly how many rules Aaron Ryan breaks. I mean, there's his illegal gloves, illegal attacks, illegal hairstyle, his unsportsmanlike behavior. Heck, even when he's not fighting Little Mac in the ring, he attacks the referee in between rounds, throwing him aside, which is yet another rule break to add to the list. When you sum all of that up, this guy has a grand total of a massive 25.5 rule infractions. That is more than any character in the entire franchise. When you consider how outlandish some of the opponents you have to fight in this series are, I mean, we're talking bringing a squirrel into the fight and being an actual genie outlandish. That is seriously impressive. That aside, this flail attack is a hilarious gimmick because of how chaotic it makes this fight. The more times Aaron Ryan uses it, the more complex the pattern becomes and it gets harder and harder to dodge. If you manage to avoid all of his swings successfully though, the payoff is pretty huge. Alongside stunning him and allowing you to get some big damage in, doing this also grants you with a star which you can use to great effect. Do you remember how in Contender mode, Aaron attempts to get one last punch in before he goes down? Well, now when he falls to the mat, he doesn't just simply try to hit you with a punch. Instead, he swings his flail at you, and if you don't dodge it properly, you can actually get hit by it this time. Of course, you can't get knocked down by it, as otherwise that would kind of break the game, but it's just another thing that adds to the sheer chaos of this fight. But as Doc Lewis once ever so wisely said, the way you have to win this one is by beating Aaron Ryan to the punch, and as it turns out, that also applies to his last-ditch attack. If you perfectly time a star uppercut, just when he's about to hit you, you'll knock him out cold instantly. From start to finish, Aaron Ryan's fight is a wild ride, and for that it deserves a lot of credit. Sure, rule breaks are pretty common in the WVBA, but nobody does it quite like this guy. He was arguably one of the most forgettable characters in Super Punch-Out, but he had a complete transformation into the guy we all love to hate in Punch-Out Wii. His frankly insane personality and fighting style perfectly embody what makes the Punch-Out franchise so great. Wait, how does he have more rule infractions than a literal monkey? So you've taken down the weaklings of the minor circuit and climbed your way up through the big leagues. Now, only one man lies between you and the major circuit belts. And that man?
Aha! Ole!
Is Don Flamenco. He's a bullfighter, he's a romantic, he has a rose in his mouth, his shorts are in the colours of the Spanish flag, his name is Don Flamenco for crying out loud. The point I'm trying to make here is that, as is the case with pretty much all of the characters in this game, this dude is basically every stereotype from his country rolled into one, and ayo, hold up, did he just launch a bull into the sky with his uppercut? Yeah, this guy ain't no joke, guys. He just stands there, goading you on like a toreador to a bull, letting you make the first move. When you inevitably throw out a jab, he dodges out of the way with ease and hits you with his classic uppercut. You need to watch your timing as well. Sometimes he shouts "Toro" and hits you instantly, while other times he'll delay it slightly, saying "Carmen mi amor" in the wind-up. It's implied that the Carmen he's referring to here is his girlfriend at the time, or in other words, the woman that we see him giving a rose to in the intro. Aw, they seem to have such a happy and healthy relationship. Don clearly feels passionate about his love for her too. I hope nothing bad happens between them anytime soon. That aside, what Don is doing here is dodging your punches and counter-attacking when he sees a chance. Wait, hold on. Doesn't that sound familiar to you guys? It's the exact same tactic that you've been using to get this far. He's giving Little Mac a taste of his own medicine. This presents a unique challenge for you to overcome. You need to figure out how to outdance the flamenco. Fall for his taunts and you'll play right into his hands, letting him knock your lights out in style. Right into his hands, letting him knock your lights out in style.
Adios.
The way you win this one is by countering Don Flamenco's counterattacks. Simply dodge his uppercuts, duck his hooks, and then wail in on him like you would with any other character. Huh, guess he's a lot less complex to overcome than he looks. But even when you think you've got him all sussed out, it's not quite over just yet. The Don still has one last trick up his sleeve, his signature Rose Flurry. In the wind-up to this move, he'll perform a series of claps while counting uno, dos, tres, and then unleash a series of 3 consecutive hooks. They are lethal to get hit by, so you need to make sure that you evade all of them. Do this successfully, and Don Flamenco resigns to his fates, forfeiting a star to you, allowing you to hit back at him with your own uppercut. This whole match is a fun back and forth, and it's one of the most satisfying fights in the game for that reason. Part of what makes this the case is that, unlike characters like Soda Popinski, who takes what looks to be some kind of performance-enhancing drugs, or Aaron Ryan, who, let's just say, has his fair share of rule infractions, Don Flamenco is relatively tame. Sure, he does break a few regulations for minor things like spraying himself with perfume and throwing the bottle into the crowd, but none of it is really on the same scale as headbutting the opponent or bringing a weapon into the fight. Coming off the back of a straight-up genie, it feels like a return to a much more grounded style of boxing, right before you move on to the completely unhinged world circuit. He's a relatively respectable character as well, saying things like bien hecho and bien visto when he dodges hooks, which roughly translates to well done and you got me, respectively. A lot of people think he's being sarcastic here, but I don't know, I've always interpreted Don Flamenco as someone who's very competitive, taunting Mac when he's down but giving credit where it's due when he dodges. Granted, he's a bit of a showboat, but throughout the match he always remains cool, calm and collected. So it turns out that this whole time, our amigo Don Flamenco was concealing his receding hairline underneath the toupee, and if you look closely, you might notice that he is not too happy about his secret being revealed to the world. The once composed Spaniard is now seeing red, and his ordinarily defensive approach gets thrown out of the window. You could say that old Don goes from bullfighter to bull in a china shop with how aggressive his onslaught becomes from this point on. He throws out a brand new uppercut and doesn't let up until he sees your face on the mat. When he's in this state, even if you manage to dodge his barrage of punches, he barely lets you get any hits in, only rarely getting stunned. This is the hardest that the match ever gets. I guess Don Flamenco really rose to the occasion after his toupee got knocked off. Speaking of which, in between rounds, Doc Lewis hits you with this banger of a one-liner.
Toupee or not toupee? That is the question.
Honestly, who needs Shakespeare when you have Doc Lewis, bro? And while we're talking about the round intermissions, can I just ask, what does Doc mean by this quote, and how is it in any way relevant to the fight?
What's your favorite flower, son? Mine's chocolate.
It's just, I don't know, man, at this point I've stopped questioning it. Regardless, everything we've seen thus far makes Don Flamenco look like quite the formidable opponent. You'll be fighting tooth and nail with him, and when you do eventually best him for the first time, will likely be after a long, difficult war of attrition. You won't win by mindlessly swinging, but instead by beating Flamenco at his own game. However, if you were one of the people who played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on the NES, you'll remember that there was a pretty simple trick to beating this guy with relative ease. All you had to do was alternate between your left and right jabs after dodging one of his attacks, and he would be rendered completely helpless, unable to escape from this eternal stun lock. If you try to use the exact same technique in Punch-Out Wii, it doesn't end up working, but this is where you need.
Only 5 seconds of gameplay footage exists of this game console. The Imperator, released in 2014, claimed to rival big names like PlayStation, but that couldn't be further from the truth. And no, it wasn't made in China, but rather in Iran, where it was exclusively sold. Even here it was extremely hard to find. Inside the box you'll find a racing wheel, webcam, cable, manual, and a DVD containing 9 games. So you're probably asking, where's the game console? Everyone refers to it as a console and the TV commercial shows something, but in the end, they never finished it and the games were ported to PC. The webcam is supposed to track the wheel and use it as game controls. That's nothing new, so what's so special about this one? Let's find out in the 9 games it came with. I tried to install the games, but one of the files requires a password and the other asks for a serial number. Nowhere, and I mean nowhere, is there a mention of a serial number. The person I bought this from couldn't even set it up, the company doesn't exist anymore, and there's no information online. Is there even an actual game, or is it like the console itself? To find out, I had to crack the game I bought and own. I hopelessly opened Cheat Engine, and to my surprise, the code for the serial mechanism is not only visible, but there are instructions on how it works as well. If you enter the correct key, the setup proceeds to the next page, and if not, it displays an error message. I removed the second part of the code and replaced it with the first one so I can proceed even by entering the wrong key. There's no way it's that easy, but that actually worked. Legitimate users can't get past this anti-piracy measure, and yet you can bypass it with zero coding experience. Who'd wanna pirate this shit anyways? After 9 years, I'm the only person uploading it to the internet. Go check it out if you think I'm making this up. After the setup finishes, the game automatically opens up to a massive ear rape, which I lowered in the video. Before playing, you can test the webcam and the wheel. The webcam uses the pattern printed behind the wheel and calculates its rotation over 3 axes. So yeah, the wheel is just a useless piece of plastic. Couldn't they use an accelerometer like the Wii that came 8 years before it? And the webcam is even worse, just look at this quality. Even the instruction video and the box itself are showing different webcams, but let's see how it plays out in the actual games. The first game on the list is called The Car. It features 9 of them, along with 4 tracks. This is my first time playing. At first, the wheel seems to work fine, and then it doesn't. It's extremely inconsistent and the car only turns whenever it wants to. Even when it works, there's like half a second of delay. The webcam is horrible when it comes to fast movements and quickly loses track of the pattern. On top of that, you have no control over throttle or brakes. If you get stuck, you have to restart. I don't even know how good the game is because I'm still struggling with the controls. You have to keep the pattern inside the webcam's tiny field of view for it to be registered, which is really difficult since the wheel isn't mounted. This circle is present in every game to make aligning the wheel easier, which you have to do a lot. You have to focus both on the gameplay and on the pattern not moving out of the circle. Even if you get it right, this is no fun. You need brakes, less input delay, ability to do quick corrections, larger webcam FOV, and just being able to properly turn. You can do none of these. The car is undrivable with the wheel, period. But maybe the next game is better. It's called Mirrors, and that's what it is, just a mirror with different video effects. This is something you do on a phone, why put it on a game console? You can't even take pictures, what's the point? The best thing to come out of it is this meme-worthy screenshot laughing at your life decisions. Let's move on. The third game is actually the best one. It's River Raid from Atari. Yep, a game made 40 years ago is actually more enjoyable than anything else here. They copy-pasted the whole game and made it even worse. The river can now randomly end without any indication at the beginning. The level designer is literally trolling you. They even had the audacity to replace Activision with their own company's name. Playing it with the Emperor wheel is just as unresponsive and inconsistent as the car game. This time, however, you can shoot by rotating the wheel forward. Couldn't they do this to the car for braking? Moving on. The fourth game doesn't work. It requires you to move the pattern further away from the webcam, and when you do, it becomes unrecognizable because the picture quality is just so bad. You need lots of light for it to be barely picked up, and even then it's unplayable. This is the worst way of teaching colors to kids. So on to the fifth game, where the goal is to use blocks to build a tower as high as possible without it falling apart. It's a simple concept, but this is something you'd play on a phone or as a flash game. The sixth game is called The Ship in Darkness. You're supposed to dodge enemy ships that come from either right, center, or the left of the screen. However, the screen eventually turns black and you have to use the stereo speakers to tell where the next enemy ship is coming from. So yeah, this is a game with no graphics or visuals, just sound and a black screen. At least there's less ear rape in this game. The seventh game is probably the nicest looking, but as for gameplay, you're just picking up balls that match the color of your ship. You pick up fruits to recharge the ship and junk food lowers your energy? I don't care if you want to educate kids, that makes no sense. I don't have enough balls to play this game any further, so on to the 8th game, and I'm only going to show still images because it can actually cause motion sickness. The goal is to rotate the level and guide this ball through a hole. It's another mobile game containing 18 levels that are super easy. The biggest problem, however, is that it's so disorienting, it causes headaches within 10 minutes. I never experienced anything like this with any video game. It's like reading a book in a moving car, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't mention it if it wasn't for the fact that these games were approved by the Ministry of Health. Video games were seen as dangerous back then, and they still proceed to approve one without even playing it. They clearly didn't even test it. How did it win awards? The final game is Ring and Wire, which shouldn't have been made into a video game. Not only you can't move the camera, but the depth perception is just not there on a 2D screen. As per every game, the controls are terrible on the wheel and I'm using keyboard for the most part. Yeah, first it was a game console, then it became webcam games, and now it's just games. At this rate, you might as well not call them games. You just wasted 2 weeks worth of minimum wage on nothing. It's a scam. Even in the TV advertisement they're using a keyboard. The steering doesn't match, the kid is just acting. I wonder where they learned that from. But anyways, the car game becomes playable with keyboard since you can accelerate and brake using the arrow keys. Once you get rid of the horrible controls, you start to notice how awful the game is. First of all, the car and track used in the cover are cut from the game, and all you do is collect company logos before the timer runs out. The cars have lots of grip and are extremely easy to drive. They would have provided no challenge if it wasn't for the inconsistent and glitchy physics. The optimization is just as bad and the camera is even worse. It takes way too long to follow the car and the sense of speed is non-existent. The problems in this game can fill another video, so I'll end it here. And that's everything the Imperator had to offer. From the console that never existed and defective DRM, to impractical controls and headache-inducing games. The best thing about it was a game ripped off from a console 6 generations before it. I don't think you can go lower than this, so what really went wrong? Given how little information there is about it, we had no answers. Until the original creator did an interview 5 months ago. At first, the main issue seems to be money. They had no investors prior to the console's release, only around $9,000 from the government, of which they ended up receiving half. A budget only enough for simple games, but that doesn't excuse it because the main idea was outdated in the first place. They wanted to get kids away from the screen and involve physical movement, like Kinect, or Wii, PlayStation Move, or any actual racing wheel. They did nothing to innovate or improve. Sony's PlayStation 2 iToy came 10 years before, and the games on it were actually decent, especially for a first attempt at webcam games. Both devices had the same cost. The Imperator has no excuse to be inferior in every way despite being much newer. They even wanted to make a second version with more games. Why? When the console was finished, they finally found an investor. It was a publishing company called The Imperator. That's how it got its name. Their website is called Imperator Japan, but it was an Iranian company importing outdated Chinese consoles, and along with deceptive marketing, it explains why this one mistakenly became known as a game console. Both the Imperator company and the actual creators of the console eventually closed offices and the website is no longer up. So I bought it. For the first time in 9 years, these abominations of games can now be downloaded from this website. Hopefully we can learn from it and never make the same mistake ever again. But we didn't. We took that mistake and made it even worse just a year later. Next time, we're gonna see what happens when a government-backed studio makes a game with propaganda added on. This is Mafia from 2002. This is Saboteur from 2009. And this is Dark Years from 2015. This is what 3 years of development and government support looks like. They couldn't even get the title of their game right. Black Years? This shows up right after you start the game, and this is what you'll hear when it loads.
Where am I? Oh, I feel dizzy. Bastards! Oh, they have tied my hands so hard.
This is the type of voice acting you'll be hearing for the rest of the game. The next thing you'll notice is the horrible optimization. It's so bad, the game is lagging in the official trailer. Not only the graphics are 10 years behind, but the game struggles to run on a decent PC 8 years after the release. Anyways, this is a story-focused, open-world action-adventure game that falls short in every regard, including the game part. You take on the role of an Iranian journalist in London, where your objective is to meet a friend and obtain some evidence. Unfortunately, your friend isn't home, so you'll try to break into his house. You'll have to backtrack all the way to the boatyard where you started and solve an Among Us puzzle. This gives you a rope and a hook that you'll use to open the door and enter the house. And this is where you notice how hard it is to navigate in this game. The camera glitches out all the time and the controls are awful. After climbing the stairs, you'll find your friend dead.
Oh my god, who did this? Who is this poor guy?
Ya, oke. Ya kita jelasin dulu. Ini 72 jam live streaming itu ngapain aja dan buat apa. Jadi live streaming ini ada kegiatannya, nggak cuma gini-gini doang.
Counter-Strike has always been a franchise defined by its consistency, yet its visual identity has undergone a radical transformation that most players are only now starting to fully process. From the pixelated GSG-9 models of the late 90s to the high-fidelity lighting of Counter-Strike 2, the look of the game has shifted from environmental storytelling to a personalized skin-driven economy. One of the most debated casualties of this evolution is the map-specific faction system. For over a decade, the character model was dictated by the map you played on. SAS on Mirage, Elite Crew on Dust 2, or the GIGN on Inferno. But today, that logic has been dismantled in favor of a universal agent system. During the initial Gold Source years of the franchise, in version 1.6, players were presented with a selection screen every time they joined a team, allowing them to choose between 4 distinct models per side. On the counter-terrorist side, you had the American SEAL Team 6, the British SAS, the German GSG-9, and the French GIGN. The terrorist side offered the Phoenix Connection, the Elite Crew, the Guerrilla Warfare Unit, and the Arctic Avengers. This era was defined by a total lack of restriction. You could play as a winter camouflage Arctic Avenger in the middle of the Aztec jungle, and nobody questioned the logic because the game was still finding its feet. This freedom of choice was a hallmark of the modding community's more is more philosophy. It didn't matter if the SEAL Team 6 model looked out of place in a Mediterranean village. The focus was on the player's agency to select an identity they liked. However, this also led to tactical exploits that developers hadn't fully anticipated. Players would often choose the Arctic Avenger or Elite Crew based on which model had a similar silhouette or which colors blended better with specific wall textures. It was a period of high experimentation where the visual language of Counter-Strike was wide open, but it lacked the cohesive environmental grounding that would come to define the series' middle years. The transition from the original mod to Counter-Strike Source saw these models remade with significantly higher polygon counts, but the fundamental pick-your-person mechanic remained. Valve was still operating under the assumption that players wanted to choose their specific look from a list of classics. This maintained the community's connection to these specific squads, but it prevented the maps themselves from feeling like real places with specific geopolitical stakes. The Elite Crew were just the guys with glasses, and the SAS were just the guys with gas masks. There was no sense that a specific group was attacking a specific facility for a specific reason, a design philosophy that was about to undergo a massive internal shift at Valve. As Counter-Strike reached its lowest point between 2011 and 2013, Valve began to look for ways to revitalize a franchise that was starting to feel stagnant compared to rising giants like Call of Duty and Battlefield. The player base was shrinking, and the release of early CSGO builds was met with skepticism and disappointment. The game initially felt like a janky console port because Valve had contracted Hidden Path Entertainment to move the Source Engine assets to the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. It was during this period of rock bottom that Valve took the reins back and decided to overhaul the game's visual logic entirely, leading to the birth of the map-specific faction system we remember today. When Valve took over development from Hidden Path, they realized that the pick your model screen was an outdated relic that added unnecessary friction to the start of a match. For a console audience, and eventually for the streamlined PC experience, they wanted players to jump into the action immediately. Their solution was to lock the factions to the maps themselves. By making the SAS the default CT faction on Mirage, and the Elite Crew the default on Dust 2, Valve gave each map a distinct personality. You weren't just playing the desert map, you were playing the map where the British Special Air Service was intercepting an Eastern European terror cell. This change had a profound impact on the player's psychological experience. When you loaded into Office, you heard the heavy, clunky footsteps of the local SWAT team. When you loaded into Train, you saw the rugged masked faces of the Balkan terrorists. It grounded the tactical gameplay in a sense of place that had been missing from the mod era. Developers at the time argued that this also improved gameplay balance. Since everyone on the team looked the same, players could more easily identify the enemy silhouette, without having to memorize 8 different possible character models per map. The map-specific system also allowed for environmental storytelling through the models themselves. Factions like the Professionals on Bank or the Pirates on St. Mark were designed to fit the specific lighting and architectural themes of those locations. This prevented the green agent on a green background problem that had plagued earlier iterations of the game. By controlling the color palette of both the map and the characters, Valve could ensure that the CTs and Ts always popped against the scenery. It was a curated experience that prioritized the integrity of the competitive arena over individual player expression, a balance that Valve would eventually find impossible to maintain as the live service era dawned. Looking back at the statistics from 2012, CSGO was failing to top the player counts of even its older predecessors like Condition Zero. The community was divided, and many longtime fans were sitting with their arms crossed, refusing to move on from the simplicity of 1.6. Valve's decision to double down on these map-specific identities was part of a broader strategy to make CSGO feel premium and professional. They were building a golden goose, and they knew that if they wanted it to compete with modern shooters, they needed a visual polish that felt intentional rather than accidental. Little did the community know, this rigid faction system was merely the precursor to an even larger economic shift. For years, the map-specific system felt like an untouchable pillar of Counter-Strike's design, but in 2019, the Operation Shattered Web update introduced a feature that fundamentally broke the map-specific logic: purchasable agents. For the first time in CSGO history, players could equip a specific character model that would persist regardless of the map they were playing. If they wanted to play as a heavy-set Brazilian commando on a snowy nuclear power plant in Germany, you now had the power, and Valve had the profit. This marked the end of the curated visual identity that had defined the game since 2012. The introduction of agents was a predictable move for a game that had become a textbook example of a live service model. Following the mass
Bruh. La hell nah. Rusak HP gua bangsat. La hell nah. Rusak HP. Anjing. Gak mau anjing. Gak mau, cok. Malah dipaksa nelpon anjing sama mereka, lama-lama rusak HP gua nih anjing. Gua lagi live halo anjing. Gua lagi live bangke. Oke. Gua lagi live anjing. Live kocak. Gila loh.
massive success of the Arms deal update in 2013, which introduced weapon skins and microtransactions, Valve was looking for the next frontier of monetization. While
Anjing lu aja doh. Kamu. Mikrofon. Lah, tidak menerima suara mikrofon. Audio aplikasi nggak bisa guys.